What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? Welcome to the Nightly Bag right here on Pub Sports Radio, 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, accompanied by the Morning Bag at 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. Great to see all the cappers ready to rock here. Very disappointing soccer game from Team USA. There's a plus 333 to reach the quarters down the drain. You know, obviously looking back, I should have hedged. I was pretty confident. I don't know why, but a very, very ugly performance, and I'm sure there will be a lot of heat on the American team. Shout out to all the Captains joining us. Josh Witt in the house. We got Light Cheese ready to get the work done. Nuke Worker, Agent Parlay, Gerald Jones. Great to see all of you guys. Thank you so much for rolling with us. I came close to a few moves in MLB. It's one of the situations where we're, again, waiting on books to come out with lines. And there was a few spots where I was going to bet before the show started, but I was kind of rushing. And I was like, you know what? Let's just talk it out with everybody here. I have made 5 bets in the CFL. That's about all I've done here. Ottawa, Edmonton under 57.5. I've doubled down on the Argonauts. The way I see it, even if Zach Caleros is healthy enough to play, which I don't think he will be, obviously there's some concerns about Drew Brown. I just think that line's just going to explode. I'm also on the under 59.5. I mean, come on. That's just way too high of a total if Caleros is going to be there, but maybe it will be Drew Brown. Maybe he's got something to prove. I'm also on the under 55.5 in Hamilton, Saskatchewan. Shocked at that total. I mean, come on. Trey Ford, we expect Trey Ford with no confidence whatsoever to be at quarterback. So I've got those 5 bets, but that is it right now. Derek Bopp ready to get to work. Thank you. Yeah, it's funny. There's a whole bunch of situations on today's card or the Tuesday MLB card that are similar to the discussion we had in that Yankees-Rays game. I was pretty hesitant. There was an 8-game card on Monday, and I found it very difficult. I ended up only making 1 bet, and it cashed the Yankees' first 5. But we're going to have to deal with the same discussion here. There are 3 spots on the board. The line is moving towards these teams, and the question is, why was the opening line where it stood? And because we don't think the opening line is at its right number, it takes all the power off the line moving towards that baseball team. So we're going to talk about that in 3 different spots here. It's a never-ending question. It's the chicken or the egg. Is it the opening line or the movement? Which we'll be discussing throughout. Thank you guys for joining us. Shout out to Swiggy on the 1s and 2s. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable after the eye surgery. A little bit more comfortable. Let's get to work here. We start at 2:15 p.m. Eastern. We've got back-to-back, a double dip here to start out the card. So we're going to talk about both games of the double dip. There's question marks around the pitching. We've been waiting for lines to come out. So it is a convoluted double dip that we're going to be opening up with. But let's go. We're at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, Missouri. So let's get right into the weather in Busch Stadium. Often runs suppressing despite the heat. It's not that hot in St. Louis tomorrow. It's not that hot across North America. Minus 3% runs, minus 10% homers. Maybe I need to refresh. I bet you Swiggy's is more updated than mine. Plus 9% home runs, even for doubles and triples, and plus 5% singles here. Then let's get into the spot here. So again, we're just going to do due diligence because the other 3 pitchers other than Mizorowski are up in the air, but I think I have an idea of who's going to pitch. So we're just going to do our due diligence. We don't need to spend too much time here. Let's start with Mizorowski. What a beast. 9-4, 1.47 ERA, 0.78 whips, got a 2.09 expected ERA. He's just an absolute monster. Shout out to Nicholas Handy in the house. This guy just keeps delivering over and over and over again. Last start, he only makes it through 5 innings, and 5 runs were scored against him, but just 1 was earned. 10 Ks and no walks. He did allow 2 home runs, 7-2 loss at home versus the Reds. I guess that should be considered a bad start, but still, again, it's only 1 earned run. It's It's hard. He doesn't walk a batter. Get some bubbling defense behind him, and then he sort of buckled a little bit. When the defense kind of fell flat behind him. But still, he's a monster, and if that's a bad start, every pitcher would dream of having bad starts. Mizorowski is very, very good here. Very, very good. And Sharpie says Cam did what he should do. 11 lineups going tomorrow. It's a big day for your book, Sharpie. I'd love to hear it, man. Let's talk about whom we expect to be pitching against Mizorowski, and that's Hunter Dobbins. We've capped Hunter Dobbins before, 8th round pick in the 2021 draft out of Texas Tech. Josh Witt has Mizorowski versus McGreevy. At this point, I have McGreevy starting game 2. CBS put out an article that Hunter Dobbins was being called up to pitch game 1, although it could very well be McGreevy again. That's very possible. But I'm just going to stick with what I kind of tried to figure out. And that was Hunter Dobbins. Now we're going to talk about McGreevy in game 2, so all will be talked about. Shout out to Eyeball 509 in the house. Let's go with Hunter Dobbins. AAA Memphis, he's had 12 starts. 5-1, 3.79 ERA, 1.33 whip, 3.94 expected ERA. In the majors, he started 2 games in being the primary in 2. So 3.63 ERA, 1.39 whip through 17 and a third. He's got a 5.51 expected ERA, so he's been fortunate at times. 19 strikeouts in 17 and a third is nice, and it follows what he does, how he can deliver here. He can get strikeouts, and that's a very appealing spot, especially from a pitcher who doesn't walk too many batters. Now, his first start in Major League Baseball this season, April 30th, we got to go back away. So at the Pirates, he walked 5 batters, but since then, he's been a primary twice, and he's been a starter once, and that was the last time we saw him here at the Major League level was June 11th. In those 3 starts, he has walked 2 batters combined in those 3 starts. So, bumbling around the strike zone is not something he does. He's capable of control, and he's a nice young pitcher. Now, the K to walk ratio, he's got a better K to walk ratio in the majors than he does in the minors. Let's go to the bullpens here. Cards bullpen, 4.03 ERA, 1.33 whip. Brewers bullpen, 3.83 ERA, 1.26 whip. Both bullpens pitching quite a bit better. And then we have the sticks. The Brewers destroy right-handed pitching, 278, 825 OPS. And the Cards versus righties, 259, 763 OPS. I don't think there's too much to get into here, as we need to be patient and wait for the announcement of who will be starting, and I expect it to be Hunter Dobbins, because I think they're going to sort of throw someone to the wolves against Mizorowski. I think the idea is the game 1 will be difficult to get. Now we can get it, but I think the focus would be on game 2 here. And so let's talk about game 2 at this point. By the way, Sharpie says we're now 7 days away from the break. Next 2 days, got to start being safe with these big names. Mizorowski should have 2 starts, including this, before the break. And thank you to Nuke Worker. What a great God! I can't wait. I get to hang out with a Nuke Worker Saturday, August 22nd, up at Woodbine Racetrack. Going to be a bunch of us up there. Let me know if you want to go, because we need to make reservations. We're in a really nice lounge outdoor. It's just spectacular. So let me know. Hit me on X if you're interested in joining us here. So let's move on to game 2. So my expectation is the lefty Robert Gasser on the mound, a 2nd-round pick in 2021 out of the University of Houston. We saw him in 2024 and 2025 pitch below average. And in 2026, you can tell that 2 things are going on with the thought process around Gasser. One, the Brewers have a ton of depth and great pitching. Secondly, they don't trust him. I mean, he's 8 days off between appearances, between June 21st and June 29th. He's pitching pretty well. I think it's just the fact that they have a glut of strong starting pitching. Last we saw him June 29th, 5 2/3, 3 earned runs, 5 Ks, 1 walk, and a 5-3 win at home versus the Reds. Start before that, 2 earned runs over 6 innings at the Braves. Start before that, 0 earned runs over 5 2/3. Very impressive. Now, he did have the one bad start on June 9th, but that was in Sacramento in the minor league ballpark. He's pitching well. He's had 3 good starts, but the Brewers are clearly hesitant to get him out there. He's pitching at the major league level for a great baseball team. So it says something about who he is, but there's certainly not a ton of belief in him. Oh, Josh Witt says, how much does it cost to go in August? There's a $10 seat charge from Woodbine. They charge you $10 to sit. But that's the only cost. The question is, how much are you going to win? Let's talk about Michael McGreevy here on the other side of the action. 17 starts for McGreevy, and he's got this 5.80 expected ERA that's stuck out like a sore thumb, and yet it's just quality start after quality start. 11 quality starts out of 17 opportunities. He's just pitching well. I mean, the last 2 starts, if you go back to the last 5 of his last 6 starts have been quality starts. He just, we'd love that, Josh, man. Let me know. We'd absolutely love that. TJ is driving like 20 hours to rock with us. Woodbine. So there are some people driving from distances, but yeah, let me know, Josh. So we have quality start after quality start. Yeah, he doesn't get a lot of strikeouts. It's, he survives off of getting soft contact, which he manages to get quite often. But I wonder if the Brewers are a tough spot for him. Going through every single start that he's had all year, the Brewers are not on his call sheet here. Shout out to UNLV 94 in the house. So, the Brewers are a dangerous, dangerous team. Robert Gasser is pitching better. And then you have to ask yourself, do you expect the Cards to be able to hit lefties, which is something that they've done. So, again, let's wait for the confirmations. We've done our due diligence in these 2 baseball games, and we will attack here. Sharpie says McGreevy is a gamer. St. Louis announcers have raved about his poise. He can give him a home run, sell it back in. Look, he delivers. It's just this not stupid, but the expected ERA is just stuck out like a sore thumb with him, but he just continues to deliver a game in and game out. So we'll wait to see the confirmations. Let's now move on to the next spot on the board. 6:35 p.m. Eastern. So as I kind of hinted off the top, there's 3 games where I don't understand. I simply don't understand why the lines are, where they're at. And this is one of them. So let's talk about Cubs, Orioles here. Cubbies, Orioles. I guess I maybe need to. The live thing is blocking the clock. Okay, I'm going to get this up here so I can see the clock. There we go. The clock is important. We got to move quickly here. Okay, so let's rock and roll here. Cubbies, Orioles, Oriole Park at Camden Yards, Baltimore, Maryland. Let's get right into the weather in Baltimore, Maryland. We have plus 1% runs, minus 8% homers, plus 11% doubles and triples, and plus 2% singles. Johnny, we need you, buddy. I can't wait. I'm excited. I'll reach out. Hey, you. I'll text you here. But excited to have you rocking with us, Johnny, my man. So we have Matthew Boyd going up against Shane Boss. So, and I'm sure we all do the same sort of thing. And Sharpie saying McGreevy got touched by them on the 26th. Why didn't I? You're right. 6-0 loss to the Brewers. God, I have no blame for that. 5 earned runs over 4 innings. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Right there, sitting there, Brewers. Okay, so let's get back to business here. Thank you, though, Sharpie. That was important. For Cubbies, Orioles. So, like a lot of you guys, when I build all the layers for my worksheet, then you want the first thing that you'll probably look for is a line moving quickly to any of these teams, and you can see a bunch of spots where the line is moving briskly towards one side, and this is one of them. Now it's just 7 cents of movement, but the line's not being available for that long. It's been one move. This opened up at plus 111 at 125 and it moved to plus 104 at plus 136. Something that we've been talking about a lot is, whether an advanced model would lead you in a certain direction. And if it does, it sort of takes the power away from the line move. And here in this one, why did the Orioles open up at plus 118? The Orioles are 24-23 at home. The Cubs are 23-21 on the road. So you could get focused in on how the Cubs are 10 games over 500 and the Orioles are 7 games under 500. Or you could just focus on the fact that we're in Baltimore, where the Orioles have a winning record, going up against the Cubs team that's 2 games over 500 on the road. So again, I ask again, why would it open up at plus 118? There certainly isn't a pitching advantage. You have Matthew Boyd, the lefty for the Cubs, going up against Shane Baz. Let's talk about Rod, my man. Yeah, great. Love being lockstep with you on that one. Let's talk about Boyd. So, Boyd coming off an okay start. He's had 2 okay starts since he's come back from the IL. He's got a 5.08 ERA overall and a 1.40 WHIP. He's got a 4.72 expected ERA. After his first 2 starts of the year, he went sidelined with the left bicep strain, came back, looked okay. None of the 3 starts after that, his final start, he finally gets, out of the 5th inning. And then he has a meniscus injury that turns into shoulder soreness in his rehab starts. He has 2 rehab starts in AAA Iowa, then a long break before they give him another start at High A South Bend. And then in his first start, he's at the Mets, who can't hit lefties, and they don't touch Boyd. No earned runs over 4 2/3. And then last start, 3 earned runs over 5 innings at home over the Padres. I mean, just very mediocre performances here. Let's talk about the Wizard of Baz on the other end. 4.19 ERA, 1.37 WHIP, 4.47 expected ERA. I think it's fair to say that he's at a better season, pretty clearly than Matthew Boyd. Now, part of it, of course, you could say, well, yes, he's had a better season. He stayed healthy. But I just mean, even if you don't count out Boyd not being available, I mean, the Baz is being good. That last start was really good. Now he's got consecutive home starts. It was an 8-2 loss at home versus the White Sox on June 29th. He allows 2 earned runs over 7 innings. Does walk 4 batters, which hasn't really been a problem for him this year. It was a nice bounce back start because he had to start at the Angels, where he allowed 5 earned runs over 5 innings before that. So if we just focus on the home starts, as you can see from the splits, he's slightly better at home than he's been on the road. So if we just go over those for a bit, June 29th, as I said, 2 earned runs over 7 innings at home versus the White Sox. Before that, 2 earned runs over 5 innings at home versus the Padres. And then before that, 1 earned run over 7 at home versus the Rays. Sharpie says, I think there's a pitching advantage in Boyd. Says Baltimore's metrics are bad and Cubs' zone contact is good where Baz struggles. So I guess it'd be situationally because... Okay, let me just add to this. Here, let me add to this. When we get to the bullpen, the Orioles bullpen is pitching phenomenally well. It now is a 3.11 ERA, 1.14 WHIP over the last 30 days, and the Cubs bullpen has been a problem. Now, they've been pitching in very offensive conditions, but even when they're not pitching that well. 4.69 ERA, 1.37 WHIP. So then we go to the sticks, and that's where the Cubs have the advantage. But again, a lot of their numbers are skewed because of the very offensive conditions at Wrigley of late. 240, 756 compared to the Orioles at 235, 681 over the last 30 days. I put this all together, and yes, it is appealing that this line is moved to Baltimore. But why did it open up at plus 118? It doesn't make sense that it opened up at plus 118. I imagine anybody seeing this line at plus 118 would gravitate towards the Orioles. Why is this not a plus 105 or plus 104? And if it gets bet down to that number, why would that mean that we should move on it? I think that they open it up here at plus 118, possibly to get Orioles backers. And, who wouldn't back them at plus 118? So then should I now back them at plus 118? Or should I be focused on this opening line that I think was just too big of a dog price? Kujikam in the house. So it's uncomforting. This whole thing is not the fact that this moved from plus 111 to plus 104. Sorry that I had the plus 118 there. Plus 111 to plus 104. I don't know why. So that plus 118, I don't know why I wrote that down. I guess I was not fully focused, but why did it open at plus 111? Now, plus 111 is easier to wrap my head around. Now, we see books moving this to minus 101 and plus 102, but I still feel like if the idea was to get money to be placed on the Orioles, well, you place them at plus 110, plus 115 on the opening line. Now, when we wake up, if it's going to be a minus 110, should that be appealing to us? We have Anthony looking at this first 5 under. So let's go into the total here for this one. This is one of those totals, Anthony, that would appeal to me because you see some numbers that are elevated, and you can simplify things saying, oh, these pitchers are trash. But the problem with the first 5 under is this opened up over 8.5 at -123. Now it's a 9.5. I generally hesitate to move into those spots. I'm going to hesitate here. Sharpie says, is there a first 5 difference? There wasn't before, and a lot of these first 5s hadn't come up, but it looks like, we only have a few games, and this is one of them. So we have the Orioles at +104 now, full game. The first 5 +101. So the Cubs are -114 full game, and they're -118 first 5, which then I guess solidifies Sharpie's thought process around the game that the Cubs do offer more value because of the situation, the zone contact. That Baltimore metrics are bad and Cubs zone contact is good where Boz struggles. Rods Wax says, bet against Chicago Cubs in road games on the money line after a 3-game span where the bullpen threw 13 total innings or more. Chicago Cubs record since 2025, 5-19. Josh Witt looking at the pricing. Cubs first 5 -125, full game -120. Yeah, so I need to sit with this. And then the question is, if we wake up tomorrow morning, we see this at -110, does that mean we should have moved at the +111, +104, or am I making too much of it? So I've got to sit with this for longer, but the Orioles interest me. I like the way Boz is pitching at home. I like the consecutive opportunities at home. And Anthony, I can understand the first 5 under look. I can understand it, except for me personally as a capper, when I see an 8.5 move to a 9.5, now it's not real. Let's call it an 8.7.5 moving to a 9.25, which is basically what it has done. It doesn't appeal to me to try and get under it. Okay. Let's roll on. And Anthony saying he's okay fading Boz. I would prefer not to. But let's roll on. 6:40 p.m. Eastern. Our next spot on the board, Athletics Tigers. We're at Comerica Park in Detroit, Michigan. Tigers now just 10 games under 500. And after what we saw the Guardians do in the Central last year, we know that this division is wide open. And they could, turn it on here. Now the White Sox are playing some good ball. +1% runs, -5% homers, +6% doubles and triples, and +3% singles. Let's talk about JT Ginn here. We know a lot about his opponent, Tariq Skubal, but JT Ginn is pitching very, very well. The 3.22 ERA at home is very difficult in that AAA ballpark that skews to offense. 2.51 ERA shows what he's doing here. When he gets away from that ballpark. Look, I questioned Ginn because the last 2 years he didn't make the starting rotation out of camp, and I thought, that must be a telling, but he's just pitching at such a high level. He's completely earned my respect. That last start was a thing of beauty. Spoons helped me get on this bet last Wednesday, but we backed him first 5. It was very comfortable. He allowed 1 earned run. It was a solo shot. Did walk 5 batters, but it was a home win over the Dodgers. That's a tough team to go up against in a AAA ballpark. He's been pitching very well. I mean, if we're going over whether his bad starts, they've come at home, in the very offensive weather. 4 earned runs over 5 1/3 at home versus the Angels. 5 earned runs over 5 2/3 at home versus the Brewers. So when we get him out on the road, this guy is lights out. He's shutting down opponents. Well, he's going up against the great Tariq Skubal. 3.15 ERA, 0.91 whip. He's got a 3.26 expected ERA. So, loose bodies in his elbow. Regular surgery will take 3 to 5 months before he can come back. He comes back in 6 weeks due to the nano needle, which I don't know much about. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know a lot about it, but this is a phenomenal pitcher. We've seen his Cy Young seasons. Last season, 2.21 ERA, 0.89 whip. What is he now? That last start was his Cy Young type performance. 6 innings, 1 earned run, 9 strikeouts, didn't walk a batter. He hasn't walked a batter in consecutive starts. He's only walked 1 batter over his last 3 starts. He's only walked 2 batters since he came back from the IL. It's been 4 games since he's been back. Shout out to AOD in the house. Rod's Wax says, bet over the total. Oh, the back in the Cubs spot in Cubs games after a game where their bullpen blew a save. Over his record during 2026, 10-2. Says here, bet on JT Ginn on the money line when working on 5 or 6 days rest. Ginn's record during the 2026 season, 6-0. Sharpie says we may have a reverse split smash spot for Skubal's K-prop. 6 times he's seen a team since 2025 when they're going to swing in the zone with bad zone contact. He has had nothing less than 10 strikeouts. Nothing less than 10 strikeouts. He has not had 10 strikeouts since he came back from the IL. He's had 4 starts, and each game has been more and more impressive. Facing the Yankees in back-to-back starts is not an easy task, and he sure handled it with aplomb. So I expect him to continue moving forward. He should probably be excellent here. Now, why would he not be excellent? Well, the A's are raking versus lefties. We'll get into that in a second. Let's talk about the bullpen. Tigers bullpen, 3.15 ERA, 1.23 WHIP. We have for the A's bullpen, it's been a problem. Now, they're pitching in very difficult situations, but it's been a problem. 6.37 ERA, 1.59 WHIP. And then when we get to the sticks, the A's are annihilating lefties. So then you kind of got to go over how many of those lefties did they face at Sutter Health Park, where it's just ridiculously offensive. Because they're hitting 284, 834 OPS. It's been a very common thing that we've done is fade the A's bats as soon as they leave Sutter Health. Then we have Tigers versus righties, 229, 752 OPS. So let's get into the line history here. Got at least a minute left to talk about this game, but we got to be thoughtful about the time here. This total opened up at 7, barely juiced to the over, and shot up to an 8. So who is the vulnerable one here? That's a big move. That's a full run move. It was just minus 115 to the over 7. Now it's minus 110 on the 8. So it's a big, big move. Let's get to the money line. This money line's moved 17 cents towards Scooball from minus 170 to minus 187. It's been one-way traffic towards Scooball. Big Mastro in the house. Yes, these are all tomorrow's games, my man. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. We are laying down the foundation for Tuesday's success, my friend. So let's get into the price difference here. Let's go into the price difference for the Tigers' first 5 in full game. So they're minus 182 full game. And first 5 minus 184. There's no difference. Ginn is plus 163 full game. And first 5, he's plus 154. If you wanted Ginn first 5 plus a half, he's plus 103. So why do you think this total is climbing the way it is? On today's card, there was situations that didn't make sense to me. Breaking down the line functionality, and here's another one that doesn't really make sense to me. Sharpie says the A's haven't seen an ace lefty all month. A bunch of bums and Wroblewski who shut him down. Going back to June. Yeah, I understand why this line is moving towards Scooball. I'm a little unsure of why it's shooting up towards the over the way it is. And you have to ask, like what did we do with Christopher Sanchez today? This huge line move towards the Phillies. And I was like, look, there can't be any question marks when it comes to a favorite that size. So I don't care that it's moved 40, 50 cents towards Sanchez. He's had 2 bad starts in a row on the road. And if I've got any concern, I mean, why would I back a favorite if there's any concern? So here the only concern is Ginn on the other side. Ginn is pitching at a very high level. He should be able to pitch well on the road. So there's a lot still for me to sit with here. The issues for Sanchez and the Phillies were Sanchez. So this is a little different because there's no issues on the Tiger side of things. I think we should all expect Scooball to get better each start. But does that mean that Ginn is the one here that is vulnerable? So I'm going to need to sit with this game for longer and pose these questions to myself until I pass out. So let's roll. And yes, Sharpie, when Sanchez was getting lit up, I thought, oh, man, Sharpie's going to cash on Sanchez in his next start. So, these things happen. These bounces happen. Let's roll on to our next spot on the board. That was Athletics Tigers. And I think that one way of looking at it before we move past it is that I can say this move from 7 to 8 is implying that one of these pitchers is vulnerable, and that's got to be Ginn, despite his great road numbers. If I got to that place, then I would say, well, I guess I could get to the Tigers first 5 minus a half, I guess. Sharpie says Kubal could give up a home run with the free swinging of the A's. And there is our guy, Elio, in the house. Great to see you, top set. Okay, so let's roll on. Let's roll on. The next spot on the board for us is Braves Pirates here. This is a really fun game. We have Hurston Waldrop going up against Paul Skeens. And Skeens has been getting touched and getting touched and getting touched. It's crazy. Weather-wise, combined plus 4% weather and stadium, minus 5% homers, plus 20% doubles and triples, and minus 4% singles. And as you can see, we have the 58% chance of rain. Let's take a closer look at Pittsburgh's weather here. Shout out to Nutflush Allen in the house. So Pittsburgh's weather for Tuesday, a lot of rain in the forecast. Rain all morning, and then it becomes light rain. Then it stops raining. And then we have scattered thunderstorms and possible rain late. I think this game is fine. I don't think there should be any concern. Swiggy says 77 is way down from the 100 degrees last week. So I know we have Skeens and we all want to talk about him, but let's talk about Hurston Waldrop here pitching. So Waldrop had the surgery that Scooball had, but without the nano needle. So he had that surgery in February, and he was then able to pitch, after a rehab assignment at the end of June. So that's what Scooball skipped with the nano needle. I'm sure that every pitcher is hoping that Scooball shoves and pitches great and is healthy so that they can all start using the nano needle for the loose bodies in their elbow. So he had a surgery back in February. And, he had 3 different levels in his rehab assignment, and he looked okay. Again, I don't want a pitcher to shove anymore in their rehab assignments. I don't want them to be perfect at all. I will fade from now on any pitcher that is perfect in a rehab assignment before coming up to the show. He pitched out of the bullpen on June 26th, didn't allow a run over 2 innings, but still walked 4 batters, still got the job done. That was in San Francisco in offensive suppressing park. Thursday, July 2nd was the last time we saw him. It was 11-5 loss at home versus the Cardinals. He pitched okay, 3 earned runs over 5 and a third. Sharpie says, I may be donating, but I have to. He says he's never been hit, and we're talking about Skeens here, in 3 games straight, 8-2 on bounce-back days straight up, 2 earned runs or less, back to the well with the Braves team total under, be it first 5 or first 7, depending. Nutflush says, when you have the team total under 4.5 and it's 2 outs on the top of the ninth with no 2 count, you go to get a drink and come back to see 2 runs scored. It's tough. There's my man Stimmy OG in the house. That was great, Stimmy. We got in at plus 7.5. Me and Nasty Nate messaging back and forth on that one, but I love to hear that you got in on that 9.5. That was a obviously there's sad to see the injury with Bo Levi Mitchell, but always good to put money in our pocket. So Skeens, 3.62 ERA, 1.01 whip. He's got 2.76 expected ERA. I mean, this is a far cry from last year. I mean, at this point right now, he's averaging 1.65 more runs allowed over 9 innings. That's something. That certainly is something. So let's discuss what we've seen. Shout out to Man Bear Pig in the house. On July 1st, the last time we saw him, he allowed 7 earned runs, a 10-6 loss to the Phillies. I mean, I don't know how to really quantify how bad he's been the last little while. 11 earned runs in his last 9 innings on the mound. I was questioning these quality starts before then, but I was like, why am I doing that? They're quality starts. And now he's not shoving. Rodswise says, bet against Pittsburgh on the run line versus teams outscoring the opposition by 1 or more runs a game in the second half of the season. Pittsburgh's record since 2025, 0-6. So Skeens is not pitching well. Is he capable of a bounce back here and absolutely shoving? Yes, he is. Because the Braves are not hitting at all. We'll get into that in a second. Let's talk about the bullpens. Pirates bullpen is bad. 4.73 ERA, 1.49 whip. They've been a little better of late, but they're not a trustworthy group. This Braves bullpen's been excellent all year. And yes, they've struggled over the last 5 to 10 games, which is almost inexplicable. They've been so good and so consistent. Now they're allowing it. I figure just a dip here. And Sharpie says, listening to the Phillies broadcast, he doesn't trust his fastball, though the league is hitting 173 off of it. It says the pitching ninja showed how his mechanics are different than in 2025. So let's get to the sticks. I mean, this is probably... Look, I like Hurston Waldrop. I think Hurston Waldrop is a quality young pitcher with a high upside. But look at the difference in the sticks. The Pirates are annihilating right-handed pitching right now. And it's not just right now. You go over the last 30 days, they're 292 with an 841 OPS. The Braves can't hit. Now, they've gone up a little bit over the last 5 games, but if you have action on the Braves and they're down, I mean, it's not fun. It's almost rip your ticket up situation. 224, 625 OPS for the Braves versus righties. So one last thing about Hurston Waldrop, because we've barely seen him this year. We've barely seen him. Remember what he did last year, though. Hurston Waldrop started 9 games, pitched in 10, had a 2.88 ERA and a 1.19 WHIP. I mean, I think that he can go toe-to-toe with Skeens. I also think that there's a huge advantage here with the weak Braves sticks. And the way Rod's White says, Braves still working tonight in extras. Rod says, bet over the total in Pittsburgh games is a home favorite, minus 125, minus 180. The over's record during the 2026 season, 18-4. Let's get into the line history here. We've already broken through the 5-minute margin. We've had a move towards Waldrop. It's gone from plus 158 to plus 149. 9 cents of movement towards Waldrop. We're going to look at the difference in full game and first 5 as well, of course. And then when we get to the total, we've had no movement. This one's just sitting at 8. Just sitting there. So let's get into the price difference. I'm very, very interested to see what we'll get here. Again, they don't have all the games up at Pinnacle right now, so we can't use this on each game. We can use it on this one. Pittsburgh Pirates are minus 166, full game. First 5, minus 179. Put that in perspective, the Braves are plus 149, full game, and first 5 plus 151. So obviously more vig in first 5. It's not that big of a difference, but it is helpful. So let's see, is this up here at 365? Because if it is up at 365, I would really like to look at the first 3. So let's go here. Okay, so the first 3 here. And okay, so first 3, what are we expecting first off? So it's a total is at 8, minus 115 to the under, and we know that the Pirates have a poor bullpen. So if it's 8, minus 115 to the under, it should be a really expensive first 3. And it is Skeens. So it should be so expensive that you have to use it. They have to turn it into a 2. I really believe that. Now, there's not very many minus 115s that are that expensive. We have a bunch of. Let's look at Ginn and Scooball. This is 5 cents more expensive than Ginn and Scooball. So why don't we use Ginn and Scooball as a compare and contrast? So Ginn and Scooball's first 3 under is minus 135. So again, I think this will be like 20 cents more expensive, which is way more expensive. I think it'll be like a minus 155 that, again, like I said, would force you to bet the first 3 under 2. So let's see. Here we go. Okay, and I've not looked at it. They just came out, so I wouldn't be being able to. First 3 is only minus 125 to the under. Wow. The books don't think Scooball is going to shove. The books think he's going to continue to be vulnerable. I did not expect that. Wow. Okay, well, I'm not running to bet this early under. In fact, I'd be curious to see the line movement. I think, we took Abbott heads up with Skeens. I don't see why we wouldn't do that here with Waldrop. That is a shock to me. That is an absolute shock. Maybe it's the Ginn Scooball is the first 300 that we should be looking at, except that went from 7 to 8. So there's a ton to think about here. Anthony looking at that first 7 under 6 and plus 105. Wow. I'm telling you, man, if that's sitting there at minus 155, I go bet that first 3 under 2. Wow. And Jay Robinson let us know that the Braves lost. Thank you, Jay, my man. Okay, that is a shock. This is going to require. I truly believe the 55 unit, the 55 unit run that I've been on over the last month is because of this show. We really lay down the foundation. We do the work, and then once the work is done, now we have, 18, 20 hours to let the information sit and marinate and follow the market moves. It's extremely helpful. And Nut Flush says, I think this is an 8.5 tomorrow. I'm astonished that I did not expect to see a minus 125 to the under 2.5. And I'm sure, and at this point, like, what if it does move 20 cents? Who cares? Why would it open there? Okay, lots to think about. Good God. Baseball. There's nothing more difficult than what we're trying to do here in Major League Baseball. There's nothing. No capping of any sport is harder than this. And the difficulty is fun and exciting. And if you can find your edge in baseball, you can be a very special capper. Let's roll. Yankees, Rays. We're at the Trop in St. Petersburg, Florida. Yankees with a nice win today. We have Will Warren going up against Ian Seymour, who we expect. Oh, it's now listed Seymour. Okay, great. So let's roll here. We're going to start with Will Warren. Will Warren, 3.73 ERA, 1.33 whips, got a 4.05 expected ERA. He's pitching pretty similar to what he did last year. He's a pretty consistent pitcher. He's not been great over the last while. I mean, you could say his May and June haven't been that good. That'd be fair. He's coming off allowing 2 earned runs over 5 1/3 at home versus Tigers. That's fine. Doesn't walk a batter. The start before that, he allowed 5 earned runs over 5 2/3 at the Red Sox, and he didn't strike out a batter. And he's been doing that, seemingly every second start for a while. 3 strikeouts, 1 strikeout, no strikeouts. It's very. He's just not consistent. Or if he is consistent, he's consistently mediocre. There's nothing wrong with him. He's not a gas can. But, I mean, look, when was the last time he made it to the 6th inning? He hasn't in his last 5 starts. Or made it through the 6th inning. So let's roll on talk Ian Seymour. Ian Seymour has now only made 4 starts, but he's been in 31 games. 4.02 ERA, 1.09 whips, got a 3.33 expected ERA. What's happened is since he got the opportunity to stretch out, he's been very, very good. Last time we saw him July 2nd, 1 earned run over 6 innings in the 5-2 win at the Royals. The Royals are hitting right now. That was at the Royals. They bring the fences in. It's a very offensive park. That was extremely offensive conditions, and he was excellent. He was a primary before that on June 25th, but he went 6 2/3, and he didn't allow a hit. He was so good. Start before that, 3 earned runs over 5 innings at home versus the Nationals. What do the Nationals do? Destroy left-handed pitching. Did they destroy Ian Seymour? No. June 14th, he was a primary. That was the first time that he was, I guess that's not true. He was starting to get stretched out at the beginning of June before that June 8th here. Nut Flush, thank you for the kind words, man. We love capping with you so much, man. Sharpie says, Will Warren has a 19% strikeout rate versus lefties. Rays run 7 or more lefties. Will be another low K day for the guy. Shout out to the Gorkle in the house. Gorky, my man. Thank you for the kind words. And thank you, Gorkle, for the super chat, $2 dono. Fighting the good fight, our friend, the Gorkle. So I like Seymour a lot. I think Will Warren is mediocre. I think there's an advantage on the hill for the Rays. Now, will Will Warren have a better career than Ian Seymour? I mean, will Will Warren be rolling 2 years from now? Probably. Let's talk about the bullpens. The Yankees bullpen is the best in Major League Baseball over the last little while. 2.17 ERA, 1.06 whip over the last 30 days. Rays bullpen 3.70 ERA, 1.05 whip. 1.05 whip. They have a lower whip than the Yankees. This Rays bullpen, no slouch themselves. Let's talk about the sticks. Rays hit righties very hard, 273, 793 OPS. Yankees don't hit lefties at all. And they're getting worse by the minute, 225, 656 OPS. Well, this is lining up for the Tampa Bay Rays to be backed here. So let's take a look at the line history and see if this is the move that we should make. Gorklo was a great bet. Gorklo cashing with Belgium. And also our guy, Billy Friedrich, that was Pig Milk Play today. It's a great bet, you guys. Great work. So here we go. Let's start with the total. This total sitting here at 8.5. Pick 'em. It's not moved a cent. Hasn't been out for very long, but it hasn't moved a cent. We'll look at the price difference for 5 and full game as well. When we get to the money line here, we have no movement again. Just sitting here at minus 115. Now, today I thought that the difference. Now the difference did close, but when I made the bet on the Rays first five, I was getting a better line than bet online. Excuse me, on the Yankees first five, I was getting a better line on bet online than I was at Pinnacle. At the time I made the bet, Pinnacle had the Yankees plus 104 full game, and they had the Rays minus. Sorry, let me do this again. Sorry, they had the Yankees plus 104 full game and the Yankees minus 115 first five. So let's see what we're getting here, because the Yankees were on a free fall, and the Rays were playing such good baseball, and we had Schlittler off allowing 4 home runs to start before. I thought that was a nice price. I thought it all made sense to me, even though people were saying that they're begging for Yankees money. I didn't feel like that was the case. Here we have another plus 104, and first five it's plus 102. Huh. So the Rays are minus 114 full game, and first five they're minus 119. So with all of this being said, they're not telling us the advantage is Seymour over Warren, but it is more expensive to back the Rays first five. Rays first five are minus 119, full game they're minus 114. I think there is an advantage because of the Yankees' inability to hit lefties. Nice job, D Money. It was my only play in MLB too, although I did lose. I made a late move on the Mystics of plus 7.5, and the Sparks are down 12. That's not looking good to my cap right now. Okay, so if I go into WNBA, I'll be pissed off, man. The Rays first five. I think the Rays first five should be bet. I think let's just take a quick. I know we're running already long with these breakdowns in MLB, but let's take a look here quickly. Let's take a look at the splits for these two pitchers, and of course, divisional rivals, and so much at stake. And generally speaking, they're more Yankees fans at the Trop than Rays fans. Let's start with Will Warren. I don't care as much about Seymour, but I do care about Will Warren here because Seymour's going to have less history because he's just started becoming, they just stretched him out. So here against Will Warren against Tampa Bay this year, he has not faced them. Look at that. He's not faced them. So let's go to 2025. 2025, has he faced Tampa? He sure did. 12 in the third, and they got to him. Now, did he pitch at the Trop? He did not pitch at the Trop. That was all at Yankee Stadium. Has he ever pitched at the Trop? Let's go to 2024. This is the first time Will Warren's pitching at the Trop. Wow, who would have guessed that? And who would have guessed that he's not? Wow. I would not have thought that. Never pitched at the Trop. It's a tricky place to pitch. Wow. Well, I don't want to trust him. I tell you that I don't want to trust him. So it's the Rays first five for me. Now, I wonder if this is, just a playoff type baseball game, though. I wonder if the full game under is there for the taking as well. With the strength of these bullpens, I bet you it is. I bet you it's a Rays first five and a full game under. If we can trust, there's two things. How is Will Warren going to handle the Trop? Sure. But also, the Rays haven't seen him this year, which should benefit him. So right now, it's the Rays first five and the full game under here. The full game under. Oh, wow. Thank you, Sharpie. I will check that out for sure. Says, tagged me about the post-game comment from Schlittler talking about how he's sick of the regression after a bad game, so he takes it personal. I love it. Okay, so look, that's where I'm at here. I'm the Rays first five and the full game under. That's how I think I want to attack this one. Let's roll on here. Oh, but let's just see if the first five is juiced here at Penny The first 5 is slightly 4.5, slightly juiced. I'm not going to bet I wouldn't bet the first 5. Okay. Well, it looks like we have got the first 2 spots for me to attack on the board here. That is the Rays first 5 and a full game under here. Here what Sharpie has to say. It says Warren is in trouble tomorrow. His metrics are bad. Zone contact, terrible chase contact. Rays have every batter better than league average at chase contact and up to 6 good at zone contact. And let's look at his road starts. 5 earned runs over 5 2/3. His last road start. Road start before that, 2 earned runs over 4. Only made it through 4 against Toronto. Road start before that, 3 earned runs over 4 1/3 at the Guardians. Yeah. I think the first 5 Rays is a stronger bet than the full game under. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the asterisks off of both these. I'm going to put the full game under with question marks, but the Rays first 5 should be bet and will be bet. And to even take it further, I wonder what the Rays first 3 would be. Maybe you could add both the first 3 and the first 5 if the first 3 isn't too expensive. Now remember, the VIG just heightens when we go first 3s. Okay, beautiful. All right, let's roll on. Next spot on the board for us is Seattle Mariners, Miami Marlins, Lone Depot Park in Miami, Florida. Just waiting and waiting. Are they afraid to throw Woo on the road? What the hell's going on? Why won't they give us a line on this baseball game? And let's see here. Nobody under the Mariners still. So, look. Brian Woo's our favorite pitcher now. He's the most predictable pitcher in Major League Baseball. If Brian Woo pitches against Max Meyer, this is Marlins first 3, Marlins first 5. We fade Brian Woo on the road. We back him at home, and we thank him after every single one of his starts for his predictability. But I don't know if it's Woo, and we're going really long on today's show already. So let's not – if it is Woo, look, we can just simplify it at that. Obviously, I could talk a lot longer about Woo here. So the last thing about Woo was he wasn't as dominant in his last start at home versus the Angels. He didn't shut him out. But we really, really want to fade Woo. Let's talk about Max Meyer, who we do want to back. I love him. You guys know that. 3rd overall pick. I'm a sucker for these very, very high draft picks. I trust them, and I trust them, and I trust them. And sometimes I can be ahead of the curve like I was with Max Meyer. And sometimes it can cost me a lot of money like it has with Rhett Lauder. And it did with Hancock last year, but I got all the money back with Hancock this year. Max Meyer, 2.53 ERA, 1.11 WHIP, 3.75 expected ERA here. And, yeah, Max Meyer sucked the last start. But that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And remember, in that start against Colorado, there was only 1 earned run. There was just ass clown defense behind him. Yes, he allowed that grand slam. Yes, he should have handled that better. Max Meyer went on the bereavement list due to the death of his grandpa. He was pitching phenomenally well. He'd had 1 bad start over his prior 7 starts. He'd been just consistent and excellent. And he's been so good at home. You can see the splits on the graphics. And then he goes on the bereavement list due to the death of his grandfather. And he comes back and shoves again at the Cardinals. That's when he went up against McGreevy, and they both pitched so well. And then his last start, it depends how you look at it. He did allow 1 earned run over 6 innings, but 5 runs in totality. And Sharpie says, Max Meyer may be my favorite K-prop metric-wise going into tomorrow's lineups pending. I love it. So we need Woo. We might not get Woo. So we'll have to wait on that. Let's touch on a couple things here. First off, Marlins bullpen, Mariners bullpen, a similar number. Well, Mariners bullpen's been falling apart, which is very difficult to understand. A 4.90 ERA, 1.42 WHIP. Now you see over the last 5 games they've been shoving again. We believe in this bullpen. Always making moves, looking at Miami money line. I just want them first 3 and first 5. I just want them first 3 and first 5. Now, look, I'll back them if it's not against Woo. I just want to know what I'm getting myself into. I'm not just going to blindly bet it, kind of a thing. Let's talk about the sticks, though. Here's another massive advantage for the Marlins. 286, 851 OPS. Oh, and you can see their Marlins bullpen going up crazy last 10 games. Still, I believe in the bullpen. They've just succeeded for so long that there's going to be hiccups throughout the season. That's not why I'm first 3, first 5, because I do have a ton of control over that. But the Marlins versus righties, 286, 851 OPS. They're destroying righties. Mariners versus righties, 225, 640 OPS. The Mariners look terrible with the sticks. the Marlins are raking, and the Marlins are a wild card team right now. So I'm not saying I won't bet the Marlins first 3, first 5 if it's against a different pitcher than Brian Wu. If it's a different pitcher than Brian Wu, I mean, is there another Mariner starter? If it's not Brian Wu, every single other Mariner starter, I'd want to be on the first 3 under and the first 5 under. If it's Wu, I just want to be on the Marlins first 3 and the Marlins first 5. So we will wait. We will wait. Sharpie says, I think the Wu line has to do with the piggyback talk of the Mariners coach before the break because he keeps talking about it. You're probably right there. So it'll be Marlins first 3 and first 5 against Wu. If it's not against Wu, I might focus on just the first 3 under and the first 5 under. At this point. We do have lines out now. That's interesting. Thank you, Swiggy, because I didn't have very many in the offshores. But Bet Online now is out, and Heritage is out. Okay, look at that. So Bet Online has this at a minus 105 each way. Heritage has it minus 113 to the Marlins, minus 107 to the Mariners. And then from a total situation here, Wu is listed. It's an 8 minus 110 each way. Wu's listed at those books, but are they listed at the line shopping sites? But the books don't have Wu listed. Let's see just very, very quickly here if Bet Online has Wu listed here. Because Bet Online, and thank you to Bet Online, they still let us list pitchers. Bet Online, not afraid of gamblers. They will kick you out if you win too much and limit you, but they're not afraid of giving you some advantages that used to be ever present, and that is listed pitchers. So yeah, Wu's listed, and and if you made the bet, they would be listed. Okay. Well, I expect it to be Wu. Nasty Nate in the house says putting lines out meant something different back in the day. Rod Swacky said, bet under the total in Brian Wu road starts when playing against a marginal winning team. Winning percentage 51 to 54 on this record in his career 6-0. I'd love to know what that stat would be in 2026 on the road. I would not expect it to be positive, but look, if it's Wu, it's first 3, first 5, and Bet Online doesn't have first 3s. So now there's a blank spot for the pitcher here at 365. Now I can. Oh no! Now Wu's listed under pitcher strikeouts. Okay, this is great. So I'm going to bet this here, but it's the first 3s and first 5s aren't up yet at 365. And are they up at Penny? I doubt it. Penny's so cautious. Okay, so maybe by the end of the show. Yeah, Penny doesn't even have the game up. Okay. All right, so that is the plan. Let's roll on. Next spot on the board for us. Thank you guys for joining us here on the Nightly Bag, 6:45 p.m. Eastern with the Houston Astros at the Washington Nationals Park in Washington, D.C. Tatsuya Amai going up against Andrew Alvarez. Plus 4% runs tomorrow in D.C., minus 3% homers, plus 5% doubles and triples, and plus 6% singles. Let's talk about Tatsuya Amai. 5-4, 6.14 ERA, 1.47 WHIP. He's got a 4.85 expected ERA. So he's been a little better than what has taken place. He couldn't find the strike zone. He looked terrible his first few starts. They gave him a month off. They called it arm fatigue. He wasn't dealing with arm fatigue. He talked about the issues he was having with the pitching mound, with the pitch clock and all that stuff. Came back, got lit up for 6 rounds, and then he had a 4-start run where he was really good. 4 starts. He allowed to combine 7 runs. So maybe you just call it good, maybe not really good. So he looked good. Then I start bragging because I told you guys that I was going to turn it around. And as soon as I start bragging, the baseball gods stick their hand out and slap me in the face. He allows 5 earned runs over 2/3 of an inning. That was against Luinder Avila. I was bragging about being right about both of them, and then they allowed 14 runs in the first inning. Keep you grounded. Then he bounces back. Quality start at home versus the Guardians. And then he doesn't allow a run at the Tigers. I'm like, look, the man's back. We didn't back him against the Twins because I'm afraid backing any pitcher against any right-handed pitcher against the Twins these days. Nobody's hitting righties as hard as the Twins. And he allows 5 earned runs over 1 1/3, and it's ugly. So he's coming off a bad start. I expect him to bounce back. We have Andrew Alvarez on the other side, the lefty, 3.05 ERA, 1.38 whips, got a 4.07 expected ERA. The last start from Alvarez was very good. He's now had good start after good start after good start after good start. At what point do you say, look, he's not going deep into games? They don't want him to see a lineup a third time, but those first 2 times through the lineup, he's pitching really well. I think it's very fair to say that that's what he's doing. We have a 59% chance of rain. So before we go too deep into that, let's take a look at the DC weather here. And for Tuesday, okay, so we have thunderstorms. We have light rain early, light rain sticking around, scattered thunderstorms, and then full rain showers. Damn. They stop, but that's a problem. Ugh, full rain showers. This game's not. This game will get pushed back and pushed back and pushed back at that point. That sucks. Okay, we talked about Tatsuya. Thank you, Swiggy, though. We talked about Tatsuya Mai. Andrew Alvarez, this guy, 48 strikeouts over 41 in the third. He's doing exactly what he did in AAA. He's just pitching at a very high level. When we get to the bullpens, the Nats bullpen is absolute trash. Both bullpens got annihilated tonight. 5.74 ERA, 1.57 whip for Alvarez. Astros bullpen, 2.27 ERA, 1.03 whip. And then when we go to the sticks, that's where we would take advantage of Alvarez because the Astros are not hitting lefties at all. Astros versus lefties last 30 days, 202, 579 OPS. Imagine you took Alvarez out of that lineup. What would their OPS be without him? 300? Nats versus righties, 257, 68. So we have a big advantage. Gone are the days when the Nats were only hitting lefties. They're hitting righties as well. Sharpie says, Amai had the pitch mix I pick on with the Nationals, just not the velocity. His fastball slider combo eats for this team as their whiff percentage to a slider is ungodly. Says, I just prefer 97 plus with the fastball, and he's at 95. Ant-Man says, want to back the Astros going to the break. Nationals make that impossible. So great stuff coming from the chat here. Great stuff. So my first note on the top of this game is why is the first 5 the same price as the full game? We know that the Nats, we had TJ tell us how beat up the Astros bullpen was today on the morning show. And then when I went into their bullpen usage, we knew that they were an exhausted group. Why here, with how bad the Nats bullpen is, would the first 5 be the same price? I can't understand that. And the idea would be if this total is not climbing, that Amai will pitch well, would be the thought process around it. But let's get into the line history here and discuss. We have an 8.5 minus 120 to the over now, a 9 minus 120 to the over. Now you can say, look, how many runs were scored today? Can you just, is it just a bias, a cognitive bias from everybody seeing these bullpens get lit up? Because after 25 plus runs, I look towards the under. I mean, look at these bullpens. The Astros bullpen got touched up today, but they've been so good. Then when we get to the money line, there's been 8 cents of movement towards Alvarez. There had been 10 cents. So we've come back 2 cents. And Nutflush said in the chat this morning, I said Roop would look like a Cy Young pitcher 9. He's going to the 7th, only giving up 2 hits. Unfortunately, one was a homer. No, you still nailed that. You still absolutely nailed that. Okay. And, I should have been on Fought, but it's okay. I let that one go. When we get to the price difference, and I think this is really, really important. The price difference here. And of course, here we go. So the Nats are minus 114 full game at Penny. First 5, they're minus 117. I think the under is the play. Sharpie says, when the line is off with K-props and weather is involved, it's the books taking money to hold it like a bank as they don't think the game goes. Just food for thought if you think this is wrong. That's interesting. I don't know. I don't think it's wrong, but I think it's a real problem. I think this is a game where we could find an angle and find an edge that we could be comfortable with. I think that edge is Amai bounces back. And if Amai bounces back, the Astros aren't hitting lefties. There was so much offense today. Will there be less tomorrow? Which would lead me to a first 3 under. But do you want a first 3 under if these guys are sitting on their ass until 9:30 p.m.? Probably not. Or then you don't trust the sticks and you don't trust the arms either. So, okay, so rain is a big problem. But I guess when it's all said and done, I want a first 3 under, but I won't move on it in this situation. Nutflush says, I can see the Nats game going into the fourth 0-0. If rain wasn't a problem, I would bet that as soon as the show is over. Okay. Let's roll on. I'm not going to bet that before the show tomorrow. Next up, 7:10 p.m. Eastern with the Kansas City Royals, New York Mets. Royals 36-54, 16-28 on the road. New York Mets 37-53, 19-24 at home at Citi Field in Queens, New York. And we have some run suppressing situation here. Look, it's only 66 Fahrenheit in Queens, man. Minus 13% runs, minus 6% homers, minus 22% doubles, triples, and minus 8% singles. Now, we don't know who's pitching for the Mets, but it could be Kodai Senga, or will it be an opener and then Kodai Senga? Let's talk about Seth Lugo. That's what we do know. 3-6, 4.20 ERA, 1.38 WHIP. Got a 5.34 expected ERA. Last time we saw Seth Lugo here, I know, not flush. I know, but don't worry. TJ and I, our battles never end. Wednesday, July 1st, 6 innings, 3 earned runs. But I would have lost the first 3 under in the, I mean, what a battle. What a battle baseball is. July 1st, 6 innings, 3 earned runs, 7 Ks, doesn't walk a batter, 4-0 loss at home to the Rays. An impressive start for Seth Lugo. It was a nice bounce back start. He got lit up by the Rays in the start before that, and he delivers here. So I like Seth Lugo, but he's not the pitcher we saw in 2024 that was a finalist for the Cy Young Award. I mean, that was an outlier campaign. He's throwing right now almost exactly, just a tiny, tiny bit worse than what he did in 2025. His expected ERA is higher than it was last year, but he's a pitcher who can pitch well. And look, we all remember Seth Lugo begging to be a starter for the Mets. The Mets wouldn't let him be a starter. They had him as the long man of the bullpen, and then he goes to the Royals and shoves. I'm sure he wants to stick it in the New York Mets. I'm sure he wants to. Look, we don't know if it's Kodai Senga. If it is, Kodai Senga is trash. Now, there was a primary for Kodai Senga the last 2 opportunities that he pitched, and he pitched well. Well, for him, 3 earned runs over a combined 7 2/3. So he was the primary. Sorry, there was an opener for him. He was the primary. Keep saying that wrong. He was the primary on June 28th. 5 innings, 2 earned runs in a 5-4 loss at home versus Phillies. Then he was a primary on July 3rd. There was an opener for him. He went 2 2/3, allowed 1 earned run, a solo shot, didn't walk a batter. He's pitching better. But Seth Lugo despises the Mets for not giving him a chance to be a starter. Bullpen-wise, these bullpens are bad. Absolutely bad. Mets bullpen 4.86 ERA, 1.19 WHIP. Look, you can tell by their WHIP that they're better than what we've seen from them in the last 10 games, but the trajectory is terrible. The Royals bullpen are pitching better. I don't really believe it. I mean, who cares what they've done over 5 games? I think what we can care about is that they got a 5.93 ERA and a 1.57 WHIP here. It was not flush. It was. He said he loved it. But he just, he did clarify that. He just, look, we're not a bunch of yes men on our show. We disagree with each other. We disagree with cappers in the chat. We disagree. It's part of the fun, and he likes that. He enjoys when people disagree. There's enough yes men shows around, and we're not one of them. But yeah, he was very, very pleased to be on the other side of me. But here, if it's Kodai Senga, your initial thought process would be, he's a gas can, he's going to get destroyed. But he's been better with the primary over his last 2 starts. And now he gets to pitch, at home. That's where he was against the Phillies, where you would expect him to be a little bit better than he's been. So that is what we kind of expect here. Rod's Wax says Lugo 2-0, 1.56 ERA this season in interleague play. And AM says, crazy this is, Nate, with wind blowing in and cooler temps. Yeah, but I mean, if it's Kodai Senga, I think we could understand it. There's been no move on the money line sitting here at plus 127. And then when we get to the total here, and the bullpen's being so bad 2 a.m., like I can explain this one, especially if it is Kodai Senga. This line, this total 8, which AM is talking about, it came out 23 minutes ago. So I haven't been able to study it. And then when we get to when we get to the price difference, it's not up here at Pinnacle. AM says the books want under cash. I'm telling you, man, if it's Kodai Senga listed as the primary, they're going to get so much over cash. So much. Because people aren't going to look at what he's done as a primary the last two opportunities he's pitched. They're going to look at his numbers, and they're horrific. And they're going to look at Seth Lugo's numbers, which are poor. And they're going to look at the bullpens, which are terrible. The only thing that isn't hitting or wouldn't help the over is the Mets first righties, 222, 694 OPS. So I'm very... I want Kodai Senga to be announced. I want people to hammer the over, and then I'll come in. So I see it differently again in that regard, AM. They're not going to get any under cash. I mean, you can't, with Seth Lugo versus Kodai Senga, you can't put out a 7.5. I mean, they just got bombed on the over. So I'm interested in the under. I need Senga posted. I need Senga to be posted. Okay. All right, let's roll on. Let's roll. And you know what else here? You know what else? I wish we could see the price difference here. We will in the morning. Let's see if I can refresh it. If I just refresh it. No. If it's a really fishy line, with Senga, if Lugo's not favored at all first five, I'll have interest in the Mets. Rodswag says Royals in New York relaxing hotel already as the Mets just getting out of Atlanta. I faded the Cardinals in a terrible rest situation on Friday, and that blew up in my face. By the way, Rod says bet under the total in Kodai Senga home starts when playing against a bad team. Winning percentage is 38 to 46%. The unders record in his career is 6-0. Wonder if we can nail that down to 2026 because, God, he's been bad this year. All right, let's roll on. Oh, no. Yeah, it's all good, man. Let's roll. 7:10 p.m. Eastern. Here we go. This is a beauty pitching matchup. Finally. Philadelphia Phillies, Cincinnati Reds. We're at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, Ohio. What a turnaround for the Phillies. 10 games over 500. Reds 7 games under 500. And that man says Senga has an 8 ERA, which is perfect. That's why I want him to be listed. I would, if he's listed as the primary with those numbers, I will, not only will I want the under, but I'll probably want the Mets first five as well. But we'll have to see, the market functionality and all of that. Let's go. Phillies, Reds, Great American Ballpark, Cincinnati, Ohio. Let's get into the weather to get started here. We have the most offensive ballpark in America tomorrow in Major League level. Plus 17% runs, plus 25% homers, plus 5% doubles and triples, and plus 1% singles. Let's roll into Mr. Zach Wheeler. What a beast. 8-1, 2.36 ERA, 0.94 whip, 2.95 expected ERA. And he's coming off a bad start at home versus the Pirates, who rake right-handers. Who does not rake right-handers? The Cincinnati Reds. They do not. This is a pitcher who I think the opportunity to back him on a bounce-back spot is very, very appealing, despite offensive conditions. Andrew Abbott, on the other hand, 5-4, 3.88 ERA, 1.44 whip, 4.87 expected ERA. So he's not the pitcher he was in 2025, but he's shown some glimpses of it. He's pitching quite a bit better than he was earlier in the year. He had a very rough April, and then he really turned it around. If you could say that over his last, 6-7 starts, May and June, that it's been average. I think he's been better than that. I think he's been good. His last start, 4-2 loss at the Brewers. We know what the Brewers are doing against lefties. They're smashing them. He goes 5 innings, allows 2 earned runs, does walk 5 batters. The start before that was ugly. 3 home runs. He allowed 4 runs, 3 of which were earned on June 26th at the Pirates. And the Pirates aren't hitting lefties. And that was a road start. The last 2 starts have been road starts. He's coming home. Why don't we focus on coming home? Last time we saw him at home, Saturday, June 20th, he allowed 1 earned run over 5 innings versus the Yankees. The start before that at home, 1 earned run over 5 innings versus the Diamondbacks. Now, neither of those teams are hitting lefties at all. Maybe that's not the best example. 3 earned runs over 6 innings versus the Royals. That was right when they started hitting lefties. He's not had many home starts. And then no earned runs over 6 innings May 10th. He's not pitched very much at home. And the Phillies are not hitting lefties. Let's go to the bullpen first. So Reds bullpen, 3.64 ERA, 1.35 whip, pitching very well. We're not used to it. Whip's still high. Phillies bullpen not pitching well. 4.75 ERA, a 1.38 whip. They've been, moving in the wrong direction here as well. You can see by the graphics. I mean, it's just the bullpen getting worse and worse and worse. And Nutflush says he will have a big bet on the under in KC versus New York Mets tomorrow. That I need to copy and paste here. But in this spot, let's take a look at the line history here with these two great pitchers. Let me just make sure I have Nutflush's plan of attack here under the game, so it's easy to peruse when necessary. Okay, let's get into the line history here for this Phillies start. This is going to be a fun game tomorrow, man. So we have an 8. This is not moved, but Bookmaker has an 8.5, and so does Heritage. This is only minus 115 to the over at BOL, but wow. Bookmaker has opened this up, and they opened it up 9 minutes ago at an 8.5. Do we believe that? I don't have an account at Bookmaker that it's 8.5 minus 117 to the over. I find that hard to believe because Heritage opened up a minute after them 8 minutes ago, and they opened it up 8.5 at minus 118 to the under. Let's see what DraftKings has here. They've got the 8.5 minus 105 to the over. Caesars has the 8.5 for the pick'em. Interesting. Well, it's very, very offensive weather. Very, very offensive weather. Huh. Well. And let's see if Pinnacle has this game up. And of course they don't. So we're going to have to wait. And why would this game not be up? Let's check 365. See if they've got the game up with pitchers listed. And they don't either. So maybe something's up with Wheeler. We're going to have to wait. We're going to have to be patient. But I want to attack this game so badly. I want to believe in both starting pitchers. That's what I want to do in an offensive situation. But we must wait and be patient. All right, let's roll on. Next spot on the board for us, 7:10 p.m. Eastern, the Battle of the Sox. Boston Red Sox 40-48, 23-21 on the road. Chicago White Sox 47-42, 28-14 at home. We're at Wright Field in Chicago, Illinois. Plus 1% runs, plus 3% homers, minus 11% doubles, triples, and plus 5% singles. We have Peyton Tolley going up against Noah Schultz, couple of young lefties on the hill. Tolley, 3.39 ERA, 1.12 whips, got a 3.20 expected ERA. And that number is climbing. That last start, 10-2 loss at home versus the Nationals. We know what the Nationals do to lefties. They chew up and they spit pitchers out. And they spit Tolley out, 6 earned runs over 3 innings. He wasn't pitching that great prior to that. He had a home start versus the Yankees that he shut him down, but the 3 starts before that were all good. Combined 10 earned runs over 17 innings. Okay, good enough here. Good enough. Yeah, Jonathan Dutra. It's a fun pitching matchup. Wheeler versus Habit. Here, Noah Schultz and Peyton Tolley. Let's talk about Schultz. So last year he spent most of the year at AA. He pitched really well. Then they moved him up to AAA and he got destroyed. Then goes into spring training, gets a start in AAA Charlotte and looks phenomenal. Gets called up. First start he gets called up, 3 earned runs over 4 1/3 at home versus the Rays. Sunday, April 19th, 1 earned run over 5 innings. I guess you were saying that, Jonathan Dutra, now again, because the books aren't lining the game up. If maybe it is just as simple as Wheeler Abbott, but you would think the books would have it up, and they don't. Now they have it listed up at at Bet Online with the listed pitchers. So that's what we expect. We'll just have to wait and see it. But back to here. So let's talk about Schultz. So then Schultz allows 3 earned runs in that first start of his career, 8-5 loss home versus Rays. Then he starts pitching at a very high level. So he throws 3 nice starts, 5 innings, 6 innings, 6 innings, 1 earned run, 2 earned run, no earned runs. Very nice. One was at the Athletics in the difficult Sutter Health Park against a team that's hitting lefties hard. The next start was at home versus the Nationals, who destroy lefties. He shuts them down. And then at the Padres, who at that time, this was May 1st, they were actually hitting okay. It was May when the bats fell off the end of the earth. Then he allows 7 earned runs May 6th at the Angels. That was a surprise. Then he can't get through 5 innings at home versus the Royals. Then he can't get through 6 innings, at the Mariners in run-suppressing weather. And then he gets lit up for 6 earned runs and 4 innings at the Giants, in run-suppressing weather. Ant-Man said he would look at the first 3 over in the Phillies or Nerfy. Then first 5 Phillies. First 3 over in the Nerfy don't really correlate at all. But you know what? If you took a Nerfy in the first 3 over in a SGP, they'd give you over 10-1. They'd give you 20-1 because it doesn't correlate. But back here, after that terrible start against the Giants, Schultz goes on the IL because of right knee patellar tendonitis. Right knee patellar tendonitis. He makes 3 starts in rehab, and they're okay. He comes out of it and faces the Orioles on July 1st and looks okay. 4 walks, over 4 1/3. I don't know if you would want to trust him right now. And as bad as the Red Sox have been, they're hitting lefties. Let's go into the bullpens, though. White Sox bullpen is now pitching better than the Red Sox bullpen, which is a shock. Red Sox bullpen's been so good all year, and they've been seemingly moving in the wrong direction. Last 30 days, 4.54 ERA, 1.35 WHIP. White Sox bullpen, 3.63 ERA, 1.39 WHIP. And then when we get to the sticks, all of a sudden, the White Sox are not hitting lefties. I mean, it's wild how this type of thing happens. They're just not hitting lefties. 222, 656 OPS. Red Sox versus lefties, 244, 801 OPS. I mean, now you have a huge advantage with the Red Sox versus lefties. Huge advantage. 6-1 in the bottom. Of course, it's Freeland, Rod. It was Freeland. And that total dropped like a rock. But again, I digress. So I don't trust Schultz. Why wouldn't Tolley have a bounce back start here? If we look at what Tolley's been doing on the road, he's been fine on the road. I think that the elephant in the room in this baseball game is that the White Sox are not hitting lefties and the Red Sox are. And Noah Schultz is very questionable. No. Would it surprise any of us if Noah Schultz, dealt? Why don't we look at line history? Take a look at this line history for the Battle of the Sox, Boston, Chicago. And we have a 10-cent move to the over. Opened up over 8 minus 110. Now it's an over 8 minus 120. 10-cent move to the over. And then when we get to the money line here for this spot, we have no movement. 3 cents towards Schultz and the White Sox. And Rod Swag says White Sox dog at home, says Boston spot. And Jonathan Dudra says he likes the over. Both pitchers suck. These are very, very, very highly thought of young pitchers. And Peyton Tolley has great numbers. So but look, we don't have to agree on things. If you think these two very highly, Noah Schultz is was the number one prospect in the White Sox organization. So if Noah Schultz sucks, the White Sox should be in the single A South Bend. And then Tolley, look, we can just not agree on that. That's all good. So let's get into the line history here. The price difference, first 5 in full game. We have the White Sox at plus 109. First 5 plus 115. So Tolley and the Red Sox minus 121 full game. First 5 minus 134. Look at that difference. That has to be predicated on the White Sox inability to hit left-handed pitching. And then we go back to what Rod Zwacky said. Rodzwacky is looking at a Boston Red Sox team that's 8 games under 500, but they're 2 games over 500 on the road. And they're going up against a White Sox team that's 5 games over 500 and 14 games over 500 at home. 28-14. He's right. The Red Sox simply have to be bet. They have to be bet as soon as possible. This is as telling of a line as could possibly that's on the board. Rodzwacky nailed it. This is extremely telling. The fact that the White Sox, who are 14 games over 500 at home, would be a dog, and Rod's 10-star play of the day. Yeah, you've nailed it. The Red Sox should be bet. First 5 and full game. And then, at that point, I'd like to see what happens with this line, because it would not shock any of us if Noah Schultz pitches well here at home. And then these first 3, Boston, first 3 under. Let's take a look at that first 3. Let's take a look at this first 3 here. So it's an 8. It's minus 120 to the over. And Jonathan Dutra, that's maybe fair. They don't trust Schultz, Johnny. That's maybe fair. I think the bigger issue is the White Sox inability to hit lefties and the Red Sox destroying lefties, but you could absolutely be right there. Let's take a look at the first grounder. So if it's a minus 120 to the over, if it's an 8 at minus 110, it should be at least minus 120 each way. If it's slightly juiced towards the over, this should be like a minus 125 to the over 2.5. I don't think it should be more than that. So let's see what this first 3 is. And if it's any less than that, that first 300 would be very appealing. It's just minus 120 each way, which is probably where it should be. All right. I agree that when a team is 14 games over 500 at home and they're this big of a dog, it's extremely telling. So I'm right with you. I'm right with you, Rod. The Red Sox must be bet. All right, let's roll on to the next spot on the board. 7:40 p.m. Eastern, the Cleveland Guardians 47-44, 23-22 on the road at the Minnesota Twins 44-47, 22-23 at home. We're at Target Field, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Cantillo versus Bradley. So 2 pitchers we know very well, ton of sample size, and this is a nice spot for us. Plus 10% runs tomorrow at Target, plus 8% homers, plus 6% doubles, triples, and plus 4% singles. We'll start with Joey Cantillo, 3.86 ERA, 1.36 whips, got a 4.22 expected ERA. Pitching slightly worse than he did in 2025. Now, in 2025, they kept his innings down really low, and he wasn't starting all the time. Now he's a starting pitcher. So that's maybe part of that story. The last time we saw him, Wednesday, July 1st, 2 earned runs over 5 innings. He did walk 5 batters, which is not like him at all. He's had a couple swat, like at the end of May, he was walking too many batters, but he's not a guy that's the problem here. June 26th at home versus the Mariners. So back-to-back home starts. He allows 1 earned run over 6 innings. The last time he was on the road, he allowed 1 earned run over 8 innings, and that was the beginning of the Astros' inability to hit lefties, which kind of was a surprise to us. We have a cognitive bias of them destroying lefties. Then we have June 13th at home versus the Tigers, 1 earned run over 5 innings. He had a really bad end of May and beginning of June. He had 3 starts at home versus the Nationals, at the Yankees, and at the Rangers. In those 3 starts, he only went 11 innings, and he allowed 15 earned runs. So, he walked 9 batters. He was a mess, and he's seemingly got his shit together. Let's talk about Taj Bradley, 3.86 ERA, 1.29 whips, got 3.96 expected ERA. He went on the IL on May 9th due to right pectoral inflammation, and he didn't look good coming out of it. He wasn't going deep into games at all. He was getting lit up and smoked, and it feels like he's just recently found himself. The last time we saw him deliver, well, let's go through these 3 starts since getting lit up in June or coming off the pectoral inflammation. June 20th, he goes 2 earned runs over 5 innings in a win at Arizona. That's not saying much. Arizona's not hitting. June 26th, at home versus the Rockies, who are destroying right-handed pitching, 2 earned runs over 7 innings. Now we're talking. Now you see him starting to come together. And then his last start at the Astros, 11 strikeouts, 5 innings, 1 earned run. He looked very, very good. Bullpen-wise, Twins bullpen is an absolute atrocity. I mean, it's so bad. It is just 6.53 ERA, 1.59 WHIP. Guardians bullpen 4.11 ERA, 1.51 WHIP. The Guardians bullpen is back to being a very trusted bullpen. I don't know why the hiccup came, but it did come, and it made me stop betting their unders each and every game with Ramirez out of the lineup. Then we go to the sticks. The Twins are hitting righties harder than any team in the league, and they can't hit lefties. It's a wonderful opportunity. They're just 201, 639 OPS versus lefties. Guardians versus righties, 258, 723 OPS. They're actually starting to hit. They were in some very, very offensive weather when they were hitting. So this is a very, very interesting spot. Let's get into the line history and then the price difference. Line history-wise, we have a big move to Cantillo and the Guardians from plus 115 to plus 102. And when we look at what the Twins are doing to lefties, doesn't it make a ton of sense that this is just being one-way traffic towards the Guardians? Now, let's see the total. Give me a nice low total. Oh, damn it. Opened up at 8 and moved to 8.5. Huh. That sucks. Let's take a look at the... God, I wish that was a low total. That would just be asking for everybody to bet overs. That's not the case. Damn it. I thought I had one there. I felt like I had the fish coming in and just got off the hook. Let's take a look at the price difference here, because maybe that's all we can focus on, is the fact that the Twins don't hit lefties. So the Guardians are plus 102 full game. So we need them to be much more expensive first 5. We'd like it to be more than 10 cents more expensive. Let's see. It's no difference. It's no difference. Damn it. The Twins are minus 112 full game, and first 5, they're minus 119. It's Taj Bradley that's preferred. What the hell? Why is this total going up from 8 to 8.5? Remember, like, for instance, in the Arizona game today, that I wanted to have unders, I wanted to believe in fought. Why was that total climbing? Like, it was just climbing. So you knew something was wrong, and I didn't think it was fought, and we stayed off of that spot. I think it's very questionable to bet into these situations here where the total is climbing and it shouldn't be, or that, one pitcher, like, this full game's moving towards Cantillo. Maybe it's more predicated on the inability of the Twins bullpen to get outs. So this is an 8.5 minus 110 each way. We just saw an 8 that was slightly juiced to the over, or slightly juiced to the over that was a minus 120 each way. So then this should be like minus 105 to the over, and excuse me, it should be minus 135 to the over and minus 105 to the under on the 3 for the Guardians, Minnesota Twins. And the first 3 here is that. Look at that. Minus 135 to the over, minus 105 to the under. No. Unfortunately, Swiggy, it just doesn't correlate. Rod's Wacky says Guardians are the dog of the day. And that makes sense to me, Rod, with the line moving towards them full game. So what the books are saying is that the biggest vulnerability is the Minnesota Twins bullpen, and that the Guardians will just get to them by the end of the game. And there's nothing else that appeals here. Ugh. All right, look, I'm just gonna let this shit marinate, man. Rod's White says bet on Cleveland road games on the money line after 3 consecutive games versus a division rival. Cleveland's record since 2025, 15-5. Says bet over the total of Minnesota home games against left-handed starters. The overs record during 2026, 10-2. And not flush on the team total over for Cleveland. Oh, damn it. I really thought something would open up for me there. Let's roll on. 8:05 p.m. Eastern. Next spot on the board, LA Angels, Texas Rangers. Now, this. Let's get something to open up for us here. We have Jose Soriano going up against Jacob deGrom. Soriano, and we're Global Life Field, Arlington, Texas. Roof will be closed. Soriano, 8-5, 3.42 ERA, 1.32 whips. Got a 4.33 expected ERA. We can take advantage of exceptional runs and terrible runs, and it's just one of the opportunities we have as gamblers. And here, no pitcher has ever had a better 6 starts to open up a season than Jose Soriano did, and now he's a gas can. If you use an eye test of Jose Soriano, you think he's Pedro Martinez. It's just that he doesn't get the job done. His last start, 3 earned runs over 5 innings, 8-3 loss at the Mariners. Run suppressing weather, doesn't deliver. Start before that at home versus the Orioles, 5 earned runs over 3 innings, doesn't deliver. Start before that at the Athletics, 4 earned runs over 5 innings. That's an okay start in Sutter Health Park. Start before that at home versus the Rays, he pitched very well, but he only made it through 5 innings. Start before that, 6 innings, 4 earned runs, 5 total, 4 earned. Allowed 2 jacks and a 13.5 win. He's not pitching well. Let's talk about DeGrom. 3.48 ERA, 0.99 whips. Got a 3.43 expected ERA. Jacob DeGrom, he carries a lot of weight with his name, obviously. But he's been pitching well. I was really impressed with that start on his bobblehead night when he allowed 5 earned runs in the first inning and he stayed out there and he made it through 6 and he saved the bullpen and he kept pitching well. The last 2 starts have both been quality starts. 4-2 loss at the Marlins. That was, I think, against Max Meyer. Oh, no, that was against Yuri Perez. And we cashed the first 3 under, the full game under. June 30th, 2 earned runs over 7 innings, 4-2 win at the Guardians. He's pitching well. Bullpen-wise, the Rangers' bullpen's all of a sudden fallen apart. It's so strange how these bullpens just ebb and flow. 4.93 ERA, 1.38 whip. The last 5 games have been better, but this was a really good bullpen through May. And then June, all of a sudden, they start pitching like trash. And the opposite for the Angels. Now, the Angels have had a bad 5 games, but they started pitching really, really well. And if you look at the Angels' bullpen over the last 30 days, it's a 3.33 ERA, 1.18 whip. But Nutflush says the Angels' bats are atrocious. They may be, but versus righties last 30 days, 253, 715 OPS. They're hitting righties harder than the Rangers over the last 30 days. Now, by a taint hair. You could say they're both trash, and that would, we'd be in agreement. Now, look, 182 over the last 5 games. They're not obviously hitting at this point. All right, let's get into the line history here for Angels, Rangers. A 10-cent move to the over. This one opening up at 7 minus 115 to the over. Now 7 minus 125 to the over. I love how low that total is. That obviously appeals to me, that it's that low. When we get to the money line here, we have 2 cents of movement towards the Angels, plus 142 to plus 140. Very, very little there. Very little there. Let's talk about the price difference. And, of course, in the morning show, we have Jose Bouquet. We also have Flash joining us for World Cup Soccer tomorrow morning. And we're going to open up with World Cup Soccer. But with the line here for the price difference for Angels, Rangers, we have, and I didn't even, sorry, I got so caught up in the total, we didn't even talk about, we did the 2-cent move towards Angels. Okay. So here we have the Angels minus 160 at penny full game and first 5 minus 169. So very small difference. So let's go into the first 3 under here. See what that first 3 under, it should be extremely expensive. I mean, at this total, this is the lowest total on the board tomorrow. So this should be a minus, 165 to the under 2.5. Let's see what it is here. The first 3 under, minus 170. This is where it should be. They're expecting nice performances from both of these starters. What did we get from Soriano in his last start? 3 earned runs over 5 at the Mariners. Hard to trust Soriano. But maybe these teams are hitting at such a weak level that this is a first 3 under 2. Now, I don't think we need to bet the first 3 under 2. I'm not gonna bet this tonight. I'll be very curious to see what it is in the morning. But I'm gonna write this down. So right now, the first 3 under 2.5 is minus 170. I think people bet the over with these 2 guys. They're both not pitching at a level that would, set you up for a 7. So I think this is 7.5 tomorrow. And I would assume that this 2.5 would go down to minus 160, minus 155. And if it does, I don't think that means we don't bet it. I just think that it's probably best not to bet now. And that's what I would do. I also kind of want the Rangers first 5 minus 0.5. But in a low volatility game with the total this low, that minus 0.5 is going to screw you, man. But I do kind of want the Rangers first 5 minus 0.5. Right now, the Rangers first 5 minus 0.5 is minus 111. So so I'm just going to write the minus 111 here. We'll compare in the morning. And we'll have the money as well from the Odds Logic board. Compare in the morning. Okay. All right, let's roll on. Thank you guys for rocking with us. The nightly bag right here on Pub Sports Radio. We have 3 games left in Major League Baseball before we're going to quickly touch on the 2 WNBA games. Speaking of those WNBA games, let's get a look at the score. I'm afraid to look, man. It did not get off to the start I was hoping for. And God, I'm getting destroyed. God, I kept that poorly. 9 days off to practice. What the hell was I talking about with fucking Sparks? All right, let's roll. Next ball on the board here is Padres Diamondbacks, 9:40 p.m. Eastern here. We have the Arizona Diamondbacks, 44 and 45, 17-25 on the road at the Padres, 44 and 45, 23 and 21 at home. Petco Park in San Diego, California. Let's get into the weather at Petco Park. -4% runs, -1% homers, -8% doubles, triples, -4% singles. Zach Gallen, 6.36 ERA, 1.57 whip, 6.32 expected ERA. We thought last year was a bad season for Zach Gallen. Maybe he just shouldn't be in Major League Baseball anymore. He's just pitching so poorly. In his last 3 starts, he's allowed 20 earned runs. 20 earned runs. That's over 16 and a third innings. 6 strikeouts and 5 walks. 6 strikeouts and 16 and a third innings. He's just pitching so badly. He has not had a start where he's allowed less than 3 earned runs since May 18th. That covers 8 starts. He's just getting absolutely annihilated. Nutflush Allen says, smash San Diego tomorrow. So this is who I think is pitching tomorrow. Well, I don't know if he's going to start. He may be a primary. But it's Johnny Brito. Johnny Brito, he missed 2025. He had the internal brace surgery on his right elbow. Tommy John. He pitched well in 10 minor league outings here. So we'll go over them all. 2.30 ERA, 36 strikeouts, 15 walks, over 43 innings. But let's start. He opened up in AA San Antonio. AA San Antonio, he started 4 games. He had a 1.96 ERA and a 0.93 whip. He allowed 1 home run over 18 and third. Then he went up to El Paso, started 4 there. It was even better, 0.96 ERA, 1.13 whip. Walked 2 batters over 18 and 2/3. Now, he doesn't get strikeouts, Brito. So, it's a problem at times. And Nutflush said, told you it would be a hangover for San Diego today and they will destroy Arizona tomorrow. You did, Nutflush. Why didn't I end up on that? Because I liked Fought. How did I not just end up there? Oh, God, you laid that on a silver platter for us. But let's talk about the bullpens here. This Padres bullpen can't be trusted anymore. It's hard to believe they've fallen apart the way they have. 4.78 ERA, 1.49 whip. They look bad. Arizona's bullpen looks slightly better now. But this was a really good bullpen in May. Fell apart in June, and now they're starting to pitch well again. What are we going to get? What are we going to get? And then Padres versus righties, 239, 730 OPS. Diamondbacks versus righties, 209, 632 OPS. God, that sucks, man. I gave out the fucking Sparks on Medicaid Monday. All I had to do was stick with my Yankees first 5, but I got scared off of it. God damn it. Ugh. Such a sick feeling when you give out such a bad pick. All right, let's get into the line history here. Line history, we've had no movement. Sitting -125 for the Padres, just sitting there. And then from a totals perspective here, we have an 8.5 not moving either. So we have very little movement on this. We'll wait a little bit. But I agree. That the Padres should be bet. And we're going to have to trust this bullpen that's not been giving the goods to us. But how do we not fade Gallen here? But the question is, why aren't the Padres bigger favorites? You have a Diamondbacks team that's 8 games under 500 on the road with Zach Gallen on the mound. It's a little fishy. In fact, it's not a little fishy. It's a lot fishy. They should be more than -125. And maybe they will be. Maybe they'll be bet into. All right, that's going to take time, but I can understand the interest in the Padres. Let's roll. Next spot on the board, 9:45 p.m. Eastern, Toronto Blue Jays, San Francisco Giants. We're at Oracle Park in San Francisco, California. Giants going to have the big victory today. So we expect the Braden Fisher, Spencer Miles combination here for the Jays. Minus 2% runs, minus 18% homers, plus 5% doubles and triples, and plus 8% singles. That's what we expect. We expect the Spencer Miles, the Fisher and the Miles. Miles has started 2 games. He's pitched in 24 games. He hasn't gone more than 3 innings since June 6th, so they're going to go into their bullpen. But Miles has been great this year. 2.83 ERA, 1.04 whips, got a 3.30 expected ERA. He's only given up 4 home runs over 54 innings. He's delivered here. So that's what we expect. Fisher, Miles, and this combination has been working. Going up against Trevor McDonald, 4.42 ERA, 1.23 whips, got a 3.89 expected ERA. Look, I just didn't have high expectations for Trevor McDonald. He's proved me wrong. He was bad for Sacramento. He had a very difficult time finding the zone in AAA, and then he comes up to the majors, and he's not walking batters, which is astonishing to me. His last start, July 1st, doesn't allow a run over 6 innings at the Diamondbacks, so he's pitching well at home and on the road. This all is just a shock. Now, his numbers at home, 5.88, are inflated. Last start at home, 3 earned runs over 5 1/3 versus the Braves. Start before that at home, got touched up by the Cubs. Nate Cerna says these Jays bats are vile, not hitting these Jays bats. This spot, I want the Jays. I love the Fisher-Miles combo. This opened up at minus 107. It's now minus 113. That makes sense. Makes sense that they bounce back here. And then from a total standpoint, and then there's the bullpens. This Giants bullpen is bad and being really bad of late. I know that the Jays bullpen has slipped up a little bit, but I trust them more than the opposition. We've had a 5-cent move to the over. I think the Jays take care of business here. And the bigger the Giants beat them, the better for the Jays. I think we bet this as soon as we can. Fisher, Miles against Trevor McDonald. I think it's a good spot. Let's just see if there's a price difference. Full game, first 5 here. Full game, first 5, price difference for the Jays, Giants, and of course, it's not available here because the game's still on and Penny waits. Netflix says take San Francisco team total under or Jays team total over as well. All right, this is perfect. Jays will be bet. So at least I can come with some action tomorrow because there's not a lot that's opening up, but I'm sure I'll have 15 to 20 bets by the time that we're done tomorrow morning. Let's talk about the final spot on the board. Colorado Rockies, LA Dodgers. Rockies 37-54, 15-29 on the road. LA Dodgers 59-32, 29-15 at home. We're at Dodgers Stadium, Los Angeles, California. We have no difference in runs, plus 15% homers, 0% doubles, triples, minus 7% singles. Michael Lorenzen on the hill, 6.91 ERA, 1.81 whip, 5.58 expected ERA. He's being really bad. I mean, he's just struggled here. Nutflush says take Jays first 3. Yeah, I think Jays first 5 or first 3 is well within reason here. Here, though, Lorenzen does not look good, man. This guy is a very gas cannery. Last start, July 2nd, 4 runs over 4 1/3 at home versus the Marlins. They won that game 14-4. He looked okay. He looked okay in the start before that at the Twins, 5 2/3 allowed 2 runs. He actually looked pretty good. He's actually pitching a little better. Start before that wasn't great, 4 runs or 5 1/3 at the Pirates, but the Pirates are raking, and that was in the thin air, Colorado. You know what? The 2 starts before that, 5 innings, 1 earned run at the Cubs. He allowed 1 earned run in back-to-back starts versus the Cubs. Look, as much as I want to hate on, and I don't really want to hate on Lorenzen, I kind of have a soft spot for him, but he's pitching better. Let's talk about Robleski, 10-2, 2.80 ERA, 1.01 whip. Got a 4.27 expected ERA. Last time we saw Robleski in action was June 30th, 7 innings, 3 earned runs, 11 Ks, no walks, and a 9-3 win at the Athletics. Start before that, June 23rd, 2 earned runs over 7 innings and a 12-3 win at the Twins. This guy's just pitching at a very high level. Bullpen-wise, it's hard to believe, but both these bullpens are bad. You would think that the Dodgers would have a huge advantage when it came to the bullpen. That's not the case. 4.79 ERA, 1.39 whip, they've been bad. Rockies bullpen starting to pitch better, as you can see last 5 games, so that's a outlier, clearly. 4.93 ERA, 1.58 whip over the last 30. And then when it comes to the sticks, Dodgers are raking righties, Rockies are raking lefties. Both are hitting hard right now. Rockies versus lefties last 30, 297, 96 OPS. Dodgers versus righties, 282, 817 OPS. Let's get into the line history here. We have a big move, a legit move to the over. This was a 9 at a flat pick'em. Now it's a 9.5 minus 115 to the over. And then on the money line here, on the money line, we have 5 cents of movement towards the Rockies. And then when we get to the price difference here, The Dodgers are minus 257 full game. First 5 minus 239. So the Rockies are plus 224 full game. Just plus 195 first 5. Nutflush says, I'm waiting for LA lineup to see if it's full of backups tomorrow. Very, very interesting spot here. I wonder if Lorenzen can hold his own. And got to think Robleski has another nice start at home, despite the Rockies' ability to hit lefties. It's not. It's a pitcher's ballpark and not offensive weather. Total's gone from 9 to 9.5. This game is going to require more time. More time. All right, let's do a review of all MLB action. Not Flush said, remember last game when Lorenzen tried to get on the bus and you told him no, you will have to go get that win. Oh yeah, Lorenzen. It's just that 1 year when he got signed by the Tigers as a free agent. I guess what are we 2023? I think it's probably 2020. No, maybe it's 2022. God, but that would have been in the heart of the pandemic. But he was signed for $12 million, and he pitched well, and he made me a bunch of cash. And I kind of had a soft spot for him since. All right, let's talk about action. So we're gonna wait for confirmation on the double dip. Then we have the Orioles. Why did it open at plus 111? I'm just not sure why it opened at plus 111, and I think that's going to keep me off getting caught up in the line move towards them. Athletics Tigers here is going to require more time. Like the Braves Pirates. I mean, studying the market, they're telling you that first 3 is insanely cheap for the under. I mean, they're telling you that either Skeens or Waldrop's going to get touched. And remember, Waldrop was really strong last year. Now, action. Should the Rays be bet first 3 and first 5? The Rays should be bet, though. And then the full game under in the Yankees Rays, I have some appeal towards it, but the Rays early should be bet. Like Miami, first 3, first 5 as well. But Miami first 3, first 5 must be bet with Max Meyer against Brian Wu, the most predictable pitcher in Major League Baseball. So, look, I'm going to have action. And then the rain is a problem with the Astros Nationals. It's going to mess that whole thing up. Then I want Senga to be posted. Not flush on saying he's going to have a big bet on the under in KC versus New York Mets. I want Senga to be listed and the line to move to the over. And I'm with Nut Flush and fading that move. Then the first 3 under in Phillies Reds. Very interested in it. The Red Sox first 5 full game. I think line functionalities, Rod Zwacky nailed. So I'm right with him there. That Guardians Twins, no action for me at this point. I'm going to wait on the Angels Rangers, but I have a lot of interest moving in on that game. But I just think it continues to move up. I think that opening line at 7 is what we need to focus on. I agree that the Padres should be bet, but I want to sit with that line a little longer. And then the Jays will be bet. And then Not Flush saying to add the first 3 as well, or the first 5. The Jays should be bet. That Fisher-Miles combination is just working. And then off of the Rockies-Dodgers game. By the way, Rod Zwacky says, bet on Justin Robleski on the run line when playing against a team with a losing record. Robleski's team record during 2026 season, 6-0 here. Says the average score of these games was Robleski's team 11, opponents 2.2. Good God. All right, let's get into the WNBA. What an ass clown I made of myself. What a terrible night in WNBA. God, I got slapped in the face and gave it out on Medicate Monday like a schmuck. We're going to need to bounce back. Let's talk about 8 p.m. Eastern. WNBA Dallas Wings 13-8, 7-5 on the road at the New York Liberty 13-8, 7-4 at home at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Wings have won the first 2 games of this 4-game road trip. They come in off an 89-76 win at Toronto on Sunday. Julie Allemand was hurt. She couldn't play. They found out a few minutes before tip-off. Really pissed off the Raptors or the Tempo coach, and they didn't have a point guard. So I don't think we should put too much into it. The Liberty followed up their 93-85 win over an undermanned Aces squad in the Commissioner's Cup final by beating the Lynx 99-86 at home on Friday. And Swig says, my take is WNBA's like college. Can't expect NBA level professionalism. I don't know if we get professionalism from the NBA, Swig. I mean, if WNBA was like college, the 8 days of practice that they had would have helped them. Because I love backing college teams off of a nice stretch of practices, especially if it's a weaker college, especially if it's a smaller, if it's a mid-major and smaller, So I've don't worry, I'm going to attack. Attack. Let's talk about the line history here for this spot tomorrow. God, took those L's right in the face. Shout out to our guy, Justin McKelvey. I mean, Stacks play today was Seattle Storm. So New York opening up -5.5, -110, now -5.5, -105, 5-cent move against Dallas. We can look at the cash flow for these games too, so I will do that. This total opened up at 174.5, is now 175.5. Let's get into the cash flow here for this spot. I want to go right back to the Liberty. The Wings win is going to look really good on paper, but it was not a nice win over Toronto. And it feels like the Liberty are finding themselves now, I told you guys that because Asia Wilson didn't play in the Commissioner's Cup, that it wasn't a fade the Liberty and back the Aces situation, because nobody cared about the Commissioner's Cup because Asia Wilson was out. And that came to fruition. Here we have 63% of tickets and 82% of cash on Dallas. Everybody who just wants to run and bet Dallas. And AM says Liberty -5, -110. I agree. I think this score for Dallas against Toronto is a huge asset, because Toronto had no point guard and they trash. Dallas isn't playing that well right now. I'm right with AM. Let's talk about the next spot on board, 10 p.m. Eastern, Chicago Sky, Phoenix Mercury, where mortgage matchups are in Phoenix, Arizona. So I told you guys that I thought the Phoenix Mercury were going to give us a ton of value. And then they, win 4 or 5 games. They're coming off this beatdown of the Storm at home on Thursday. This is game 2 of a 3-game homestand, and yet this line opens up so short. So short. Now, the Sky are playing much better basketball. They come in off consecutive losses to the Aces, but the last one was 98-90 in overtime setback at Vegas on Friday. But look what Vegas is doing. They're playing terrible with Asia Wilson. They're just, I guess, trying to just get healthy and for the playoffs and don't care about these. Why would this line have opened up the way it is? It just doesn't make any sense to me. This total's gone from 172.5 to 175. And then on the point spread, sitting here at a 3, I mean, it just doesn't make any possible sense. It just doesn't make any sense. And I'm not going to sit here and say, we have a huge advantage. It just doesn't make any sense. 83% of tickets and 87% of cash on Phoenix. I don't want to fade Phoenix, so I guess I'll have to stay off. But this line is absolutely insane. Opening up their arms to anybody who wants to bet the Mercury. I mean, how could this line be the way it is? It's fucking insane. It opens up at 3.5 on Monday. It moves a full point and vig towards Phoenix, which is what it should have done. And then there's this massive 1.5 move back, of which I cannot explain. And if this ends up here at 3 or 3.5 and not a 5.5, which is where it should be, then Chicago has to be bet. You know what? We get in these situations here where I tell you guys, look, it has to be bet. And we're going to have to flip. Now, we don't flip yet. We're going to have to wait. And even AM, AM's got Mercury -4.5, which makes perfect sense to me, AM, but he says something feels off for sure. It's this line is absolutely insane. And if it stays where it is, then we have to bet the Sky, which makes me sick to say out loud. Liberty got to be bet tonight, though, even though it's moving slightly against towards the Wings. I don't think that continues. I think we got to take this line where it is right now. That is our show for the Well, it's Monday night, nightly bag. But for the Tuesday, July 7th card, thank you guys so much for rocking with us. AM Bets. We have my guy Rod Zawacki with great stuff in the chat as always. Nut Flush Allen also delivering the goods. Nate Cerna, thank you, my friend. Ayo D in the house. Jonathan Dutra, thank you for running with us, man. I loved hearing your insights. Ant-Man, thank you as well. Thank you guys so much for fighting the good fight with us here on the Nightly Bag. Sharpie as well, rocking with us, always making moves. Thank you guys so much. Shout out to our producer, the one and only Swiggy in the house. And yes, CFL bets, if anyone's interested. We got a ton of CFL action here. I'm going to start raking. I'm going to be getting on the lines way ahead of time. We'll be giving them out to you guys. If you're in our Discord, you'll get them first. Other than that, you'll be getting them on Mondays here with us Monday mornings. And I'm going to start eating. As I told you guys, I got the eye surgery on Friday. I listened to all of the games on the radio. I just in the dark listening to the games on the radio. Like I'm a fucking destroy. Like we did the last 2 years, which I haven't done so far this year. But sometimes you need a slap in the face. Thank you guys for rocking with us, man. Let's get this money. I'm Vef, all of us, Pub Sports Radio. Thank you guys for your support. I will see you on the morning bag in 10 hours. In the meantime, let's milk these bookies, man. Leche. Hey, los bookmakers. Milk that shit.
It's easier to sleep in the black. When you're losing your ass and feeling so, you know what to do. Tune in to Pub Sports Radio. Easier to sleep in the black. It's easier to sleep in the black. It's a roller coaster ride, you're gonna catch a bad beat. No problem, keep your head up and just bet the spreadsheet. It's easier to sleep in the black. It's easier to sleep in the black. All thanks to Jeff Slaughter, these shows have our backs. POD's always rolling, especially the stats. Easier to sleep in the black. It's easier to sleep in the black. We got Jimmy, Jose, Debbie and the fam, Dutch wine time, Spooner and OG Wham. So hit the like button, don't say that you can't. If you know what's best, just put your money on tape.